Hi guys, it's Dan from Dynamic Details. So other than detailing, one of my biggest hobbies is building show cars. So behind me is my beloved Mk1 Golf GTI. It's 1982 and she has been fully restored by myself, other than the actual paint and a few welding bits. It's a bit out of my skill area. So, but other than that, everything else has pretty much been done by myself. I built the engine. When I got the engine, it was basically pink. I didn't know any history of it, so I fully stripped it and then rebuilt it. Yeah, so forth, like a normal engine build. I didn't really do anything internally to it to add any more power, but I did add some R1 Yamaha motorbike carbs to the engine with some nice trumpets to make it look good. But anyway, we're here today to work on it because when I first built it, it was during the pandemic and I just wanted to get it done and get it ready to shows and take it to shows and enjoy it. But now there's a few little issues which I've got to address. So I didn't rush it, but there's a few little bits that just need to be finalised, like the airline. Ideally, I'm going to run in the inside of the car, under the carpet somewhere. The brake lines need redoing because they're not great, and how I've put them into the engine bay, they're a little bit too low for road use, if I'm honest. MOT has questioned it a little bit, so I'm going to adjust that. Drive shaft keeps snapping annoyingly. That's because the engine's out of alignment slightly. Basically, the engine mounts are slightly ajar, so they need replacing, which means the engine needs coming out to replace them. And then while that's out, there's a slight issue with the clutch. So I'm going to look at the clutch and the engine box. I've bolted it up through the top, which gives it a tiny bit of flex when you're using it, which isn't ideal. So that's going to be welded to the firewall properly, which means I've got to paint the firewall again. Oh, there's a lot. Yeah, so it's going to be long and I need to get it done for May. So I better get cracking. So you might be wondering, why did I push it on that lift? That's because that's another issue I forgot to mention about, is the battery keeps going flat. Who knows why? So I think it's to do with the airlift. So the airlift's coming off anyway. We're putting normal suspension back on it while we're working on it, fixing bits while we're running the airlines, because we don't want to keep airing it up and there'd be no tank in there, etc. So it's just easier to put the old suspension on it, which I've borrowed off a good mate, so that'll be going on today. That's today's job. So sorry, that's a compressor. And then we're going to have a look underneath at all the brake lines, air lines, and I'll show you what we're dealing with. So yeah, it shouldn't be too hard today. Let's crack on. So for those of you who don't know, this is air suspension. So rather than a spring, you have a bag which fills with air, hence why it's called air suspension. And then you have like a hard line going to a tank and a manifold, which in my case is mounted here. So you've got your manifold and your tank. Basically, the tank holds all the pressure, like a backup pressure, which then the computer tells which valve to open, which is for each bag. So say you've got front left, front right, rear left, rear right, and then you've got your intake and your exhaust for when you air out. Pretty simple. As easy to fit as, say, a coilover. Only difference is you've got to run air lines to each corner. So like you've got one going down there. This is why I want to sort it all out, because I'm not happy with how it's running down. So yeah, I'm going to try and run all the pipes, or air lines I should say, on the inside of the car. Then it's safer because otherwise if you run it on the outside and it's sagging a little bit, if something catches it, that's you airing out at like 70 miles per hour, which isn't ideal, especially when you love your car. You don't want to write it off by some stupid airline getting caught. So yeah, let's crack on getting these airbags off and putting the old suspension on so we could sort out all the airlines. So first of all, we need to do is empty the tank, because obviously we don't want loads of pressurized air blowing us in the face. And then we can put the old suspension on. So let's do that. So as you can see how look, they're a bit, it's not ideal. That was cable tied up a minute ago, but it's still, if something catches that, that's me airing out. Also, this fuel line here, I'm not happy with. I'm going to do that properly with some hard line all the way down to a fuel pump. So yeah, let's disconnect this line. If it disconnects, give me a second when it's got a bit muddy. There we go. It's the airline disconnected. See how easy that is to just pop off, that hit something. So yeah, ideally I'm going to run these on the inside of the car. Then we won't have that issue. We're now going to get the suspension off, so I'm going to get myself a 19 socket. Let's see if it's a 19. Nope. Let's get it. 1 ounce. Sorry for my extremely leaky airline. That should now become free. There we go. That's one suspension arm free. So now you just have to undo it from the top. But before we do that, we'll do the other side, then undo both from the top. Both bags out now. So there we have it. Both front struts out. Only got the rear to take out now. While these are out, because one of the issues is the drive shaft, I'm going to take that out as well. Well, both of them, get them sorted out, and then put the new, well, when I say new, the old coilovers in. So let's do that. Let's take the drive shafts out, and then they're out. So to take the drive shafts out, first of all, we need to take this big nut off here. This isn't actually an impact socket, so don't use that if you love them, because it should be an impact really. But that's that now loose. Be careful of your
brake line. I'm not too bothered about this right now because I am going to be replacing all of it. So I'm not being that cautious, but that's that out. Now I've just got to do the inner bolts, which are hex keys. I'll get the other side loose first and then I'll get them out. So we have this drive shaft out. And as you can see, that CV joint is absolutely shot. There's bearings missing and all sorts going on in there. So that is the issue. But there's bearings all down there. That is not good. So don't know why it's happening. Well, I do. It's because of the engine's out of alignment, I believe, and it's just popping out the little ball bearings, and then it's not engaging correctly when you try and drive. So that is the issue. Right, so let's lower her down so we can get to the top to put the top mounts in. I do. This is an old one. Obviously, we're not going to be driving with these. It is literally just to move it in and out of the unit. Right, there we go. And obviously we can't drive now anyway because I've just taken the drive shafts off. So that was a bit silly, wasn't it? Bit of bolt through. Bolt through. There we go. And I lost my other bolt, so I'm temporarily using just a normal bolt. Obviously, it's not designed for that, so don't use that on the road, but it's just to keep it in place for now. Right, now to undo the rear, all we've got to do is take off the nut there, and then inside, just down there, is another nut. And then that's it, it comes out. Right, so let's put the wheels back on. So that's done. Suspension, well, temporary suspension is on. Drive shafts are out. The exhaust is off. And the manifold is off. I think that's everything. I took the airlines out as well. So the next job would be basically taking the shifter out, then taking the engine out. And I think the drive shafts I might be able to save. I think because it's only popped out from the CV joint and nothing's actually cracked, I think I could put them back in, the actual little ball bearings, and fix it once the engine's all aligned. I'm hoping I'm right on that. I'm going to check with some friends that know a bit more about drive shafts than I do. But looking at it, nothing's actually broken on it. So I reckon I can. So let's get her down and park her back up. So I'm so thankful for you guys watching this video. If you've watched it all the way through, I hope it hasn't been too boring. I'm trying to do a bit more stuff like this, especially with the detailing. I've got a very cool car coming in soon that's being detailed. I'm really looking forward to that and recording that and showing you guys. So please give us a like and a subscribe if you're feeling very generous. And I'll see you